Hello loves, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be breaking down the full moon in Aries. It's happening October 20th. So as always, we're going to do the spell guide, and I already pulled some cards for us as well as doing the astrological forecast. So we're going to start with the planetary positions. Sun will be in Libra, Moon will be in Aries, Mercury will be in Libra, Venus will be in Sagittarius, Mars will be in Libra, Jupiter and Saturn will be in Aquarius, both out of retrograde. Uranus will be in Taurus in retrograde. Neptune will be in Pisces in retrograde. Pluto will be in Capricorn. Okay, now this particular full moon, it's going to be very, very interesting, and I also feel like it's going to be very personally triggering to many. But let's just break down the astrological aspects first, and then we're going to get into the messages from the tarot and the oracle cards. So we're starting off with the moon opposition to with the sun opposing the moon, and the sun will also be in conjunction with Mars, because when a conjunction happens, the sign is in the same, both the sun and Mars are in the same sign, which is Libra. And so while the sun will be opposing the moon, and when it comes to oppositions, we talk about this often when we break down the forecast, there is a little bit of, especially when it comes to Aries and Libra are opposites. Astrologically speaking, cardinal signs speaking as well, they're opposite signs. Just as for Capricorn, it is Cancer. So the energy is definitely opposing itself. When you look at the sun being in Libra, Libra is very much about partnership. It is you being reflected on with someone else, with others, or with a situation, with a business, whatever it is. But when it comes to Aries, Aries is all about you, your journey, your life, you yourself and you, okay? But Libra is very much more of a partnership focused sign. And so it's important to understand the dynamic of the way that the sun is opposing the moon, because while on an ego level, there will be parts of you that will want to kind of find a middle ground collectively, or even within relationships, whether it be family or personal relationships. When it comes to the moon in Aries is gonna the full moon is gonna push us a little bit to be a little bit more focused on ourselves as well. So the key question to this is finding a healthy balance between you and others. That is the key to this aspect, because the energy itself requires for you to hold both in balance, hold both as meaningful, as equal. So if you find yourself for this full moon just giving to others, your own personal self, the way you haven't been giving to you, will be personally triggered. If you have been finding yourself focusing on yourself, you will be finding that your interpersonal relationships will be getting triggered, and you will be getting called out for it. This is really as simple as that. So find an equal balance with this opposition will help you navigate the energies a little bit better. I hope that made sense. Sun in conjunction with Mars, we talk about this often within the forecast, but Mars is an expression of the sun's energy, okay? Because Mars is what creates action towards what the ego is feeling and what it wants to do, okay? So when the sun is in a conjunction with Mars, that means that whatever action you take, whatever intentions you take on this day, hold a lot of weight, because it is in alignment with your action. It's in alignment with what you actually want to do. It is not just oh, I don't know, I'm confused. No, it's oh no, I decided and this is what's happening. The second you're they're both in alignment. It's one creates that. The second the thought is created and it feels good for your ego, action will be created behind that. Keep that in mind for intentions that you are setting on this time. Sun will also be in a trine with Jupiter, and the sun will be in a square with Pluto. Now, Sun trine Jupiter, it's very, very helpful, especially now that Jupiter and Saturn are not in retrograde anymore. When it comes to manifestation, this is a great time to do some road opening work, to manifest new opportunities, a new job, something that you want to have for yourself in the future. Don't expect your intentions to come super, super quick. Mercury is definitely out of retrograde, but it is still in its post shadow phase. So be mindful with your intentions. They're not going to just appear tomorrow, because that post shadow phase lasts about 2 weeks after Mercury goes direct. So be easy. be easy. Okay. But definitely a great time to set some new intentions, take some spiritual baths. A great time to kind of focus on what it is that you want to bring into your life, and that includes what you want to learn, what you want to experience. Okay, with Jupiter, it's about experiencing, and within those experiences, moving into knowledge, because Jupiter ultimately is educating you in the process of your abundance. So keep that in mind. Now with the Sun square Pluto, there's definitely still a lot of ego work that's happening, and keep in mind we are about to move into Scorpio season. Pluto is still in Capricorn, but there is definitely this energy of transformation on an ego level, especially because while Pluto is in Capricorn, it focuses in on our foundations, where our egos have been very, very comfortable in, that are still creating stagnations for our lives. It needs to be reevaluated and needs to be let go. So you have to keep that in mind when you're working with this energy, because I don't want you guys to, like, you know, this is not sunshine and rainbows like kind of situation. Like, I want you guys to be aware that there are triggers that happen in order to push you into release. Okay, in order to push you into transformation. Pluto and Capricorn will always push you to transform, to have a steadier foundation, for you to be more grounded. So if you kind of fight against that energy, you're just gonna have a really hard time with yourself. I'm just saying. Because Pluto is also in Capricorn, there's a lot of generational trauma work that needs to happen during this time, and you definitely can take this full moon in Aries to do some ancestor work, do some family work that actually came out in the actual reading as well. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but this is also a great time to do generational trauma, remove and transform and bring healing to the bloodline. So highly recommend. Now the moon will also be in an opposition to Mars, and again the sun is also in an opposition. So keep that in mind. Like the sun is also in opposition to the moon, and that's because Mars is also in Libra, and we already talked about Libra and Aries being opposites. So when it comes to the moon being in opposition to Mars, there's definitely a kind of frustration that happens emotionally based on the choices that we are making. You might feel a little bit emotionally conflicted about certain things. Be mindful of what your intuition is telling you and what you have to do about what your intuition is telling you during this time, because your moon is definitely connected to your intuitive abilities. And if you don't pay attention to how your emotions are navigating, like your intuition might be telling you, hey, this is wrong, something's off, but you might not want to do anything about it because it will cause you to lose someone or lose something or go through a whole entire process. So keep that in mind. Again, this is not a sunshine and rainbows full moon. You want to take this one seriously, especially with how your intuition is leading you up, especially with any dreams that you're having, because before there is a full moon in Aries, the energy is in Pisces. So be very mindful. Definitely reflect on the past couple of days and the dreams that you've been having, any messages, any things that come up for you, so that way you have that clarity as well. The moon will also be in a square with Pluto, okay, and this is going to create a little bit of a friction. Squares are when the planets are fighting, basically. So the moon, your emotional energy, Pluto, the planet of death, transformation, the occult, the hidden, the unconscious mind, is going to be fighting a little bit of your emotional energy, your intuitive energies. If anything, what you're going to experience is that the second you feel something intuitively, you're being guided somewhere and you're still not wanting to go there, but you choose to do it anyway, you will be taken down a deeper path. There's going to be a little bit of restriction or feeling like restraint to even acknowledge the depths of what you need to know. Your intuition is going to give you a glimpse of the truth, but you're going to have to let yourself deep dive in it to actually get the bigger picture. So keep that in mind, okay? Mercury will also be in a trine with Saturn, okay? This is what I mean by a lot of when it comes to doing ancestor work during this time. Great time to do ancestral work, especially because when it comes to even looking at a full moon in Aries, we are walking with our bloodline. Okay, we are our bloodline. We're carrying the blood of all of our ancestors in our bodies. Okay, you are literally doing that. And so when it comes to having like Mercury trine Saturn, you need to be aware of not only what it is that you're doing with this life, but also the fact that, you know, you're the one that's carrying it over. You're the one that's like in physical form right now, and you're the one that gets to decide what is going to be done in this life, right? So what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you helping? How have you been doing the work? We have been doing a whole entire ancestral challenge on the Patreon. Everybody's been super like enjoying it. Next month we're going to be doing we're going to be doing another challenge, and there will be another workshop as well. I'm really excited about it. I kind of want to tell you guys what it is, but then I kind of wanted to be a surprise. But we are going to be doing another challenge. It's not going to be an ancestral challenge, but it's going to be a death and release challenge for next month. But I'm not telling you guys the workshop yet. You guys that's going to be announced later this week. So stay tuned for that. But definitely when it comes to Mercury trine Saturn, there's going to be direct downloads from the ancestors, direct healing that needs to happen, that you need to be aware of, because Mercury is all about consciousness, okay? The mind, communication. Saturn is karma, karma, time, tradition, foundation, and it's really tries to put you in a place where you are grounded, where you're in you have a thriving foundation. You cannot thrive if your whole entire ancestral bloodline is a hot mess. Okay, you just can't. You're gonna have issues, you're gonna have blockages. So this is a really good time to do a lot of ancestral work and look at your foundations, look at what has been passed down to you, and do the work. It really comes down to that. Do the work, y'all. Mars will also be in a trine with Jupiter. And again, this is great when it comes to manifestation, especially for some of the intentions that we want. So if you are trying to do some ancestral healing, you will be seeing the benefits of that happening throughout the bloodline as well, especially when it comes to your family members. You're not going to be the only one benefiting from the work that you are doing. Keep that in mind. And you should always see it that way, because what did I say all year long? I've been telling you guys, not everything is about you. The world is not revolve just around you. Okay, it's that Jupiter in Aquarius vibes. So it's important for you to have a sense of community and family, and to understand that the work that you're doing, even though you know, let's say a month or 2 months passed and you didn't really see any changes for you personally, you could have saved one of your cousins' lives. You could have, and you don't even know. You don't even know. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of the actions that we take are going to lead us into a more evolved place. That's really what's happening with the Mars trine Jupiter. Now, Mars will also be in a square with Pluto, and this is definitely going to cause us to be a little bit stubborn with some of the actions and the things that we have to do and have to take. So just be gentle with yourself. Don't overextend, or don't if you're going through a whole entire death process where you're having to transform and shift the energy and heal, or accept certain choices that you have made that have been actively keeping you very stagnant and that now you have to shift out of, just accept it. It's really not easy when Mars and Pluto are fighting. Okay, when they're in a square like this, they're fighting, they're not getting along. And because Mars is the planet of war, passion, drive, and Pluto, death, transformation, like those are two like different types of bombs. Okay, except for one moves faster than the other, because Pluto definitely will take a good old year wrecking your whole, more than a year, wrecking your whole entire life, in a way that in a good way, and Mars will be like, it will just slap you around like in the moment. So it's really important to make sure that you understand the healing that can come out from this, the benefits of that, what comes out from the square. It's not going to be, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but if you fight it, which is using that Mars energy, if you fight it, that's when it gets a little bit more difficult. That's when the transformation hurts more. That's when the transformation feels like you're losing yourself, or you're losing everything, because you're not addressing it in a way that it's healing. You're addressing it in a way that is like your ego doesn't want to see that change. So you have to put in the work for this. And lastly, Saturn will be in a square with Uranus, okay? And this specific aspect makes it, like, especially with the generational planets, because Uranus is still in retrograde in Taurus, and, you know, Saturn is still doing his thing. In Aquarius, there's a lot that's happening within the generation. For us collectively, as we relate to each other, there has been a generational upgrade that's been happening a lot within the collective energies, and you're going to see all of us collectively all going through major transformations, major soul evolutions, and it ultimately is to address ourselves, address our bloodline, address our soul journey, address the healing that needs to be done, do our shadow work, okay? Upgrade, evolve. It's that sense of revolution. It's that sense of, you know what, I don't want to pass this down to the next person in my family. I want to change this. This needs to change. Our generation, the millennials and Gen Z, we are literally actively shifting and changing a lot of the BS that the past generations have left us. And so we need to understand that we are actively rebelling against the past and making and creating a new future, okay? Now, looking at the cards, we're starting off with the Four of Wands, Five of Pentacles, Six of Cups. Then we have the Page of Pentacles, and our outcome is the Chariot card. This is the card of Cancer. We've talked about that before, so you already know there's definitely an essence of nourishment and family, and that's also what came up in the Oracle. We got home and family. There is a focus on family. Okay, there is a focus on nourishment. There is a focus, and this is what I mean. There's a huge focus on the bloodline and ancestral work for this particular moon. Like, it's just there. There's a battle between your individual self, but also the things that you are carrying from the connections, from the different bloodlines that you carry. This is something that I mentioned before, and you guys, some of you guys are aware about it, but when a family member, when an ancestor done married somebody else, okay, and then they came into the family, you gain their ancestors as well. I don't want you guys ever to think about that your ancestors are like, oh, it's just my grandma. You also gain the other person, okay? Just as the same as you have a grandpa and a grandma. Okay, from before them, their parents also have two. It multiplies in two. Okay, marriages, it multiplies in two. And so there are things that your bloodline is carrying that one side of the family or one side of one bloodline might be in a better place because you've been doing work on one side, but the other side is a whole hot mess and you haven't been addressing it. And so this is what I mean by this specific moon is ancestral. The specific moon is ancestral because we're in a place where that full moon in Aries is going to make us focus on ourselves. It's going to make us set intention for the future. We have that opportunity to still see that victory, still see that success coming through in the next upcoming months into 2022. But we can't do that with, having our whole entire team, our team being our ancestors, our spirits, okay, being a whole hot mess. We can't do that. We can't see that harmony. Okay. And so this is a really, really important time to see some resolutions to certain issues that you have been having with your family, with your ancestors, and really get down to the nitty-gritty of what the work that you actually need to do. We also have message, honesty, and choices, because that's really the key to this entire reading. Messages, honesty, and choices. You have the choice. You have received the message. You know what you need to do. Your intuition will be directly telling you what's going on, and you're going to have to accept the honesty, the truth of the matter. That's where the transformation is going to happen, and that's where your ego is going to get triggered, and then you will have the choice to transform. You will have the choice to do that. You can try to fight it, but it's one of those things that it's you're just only going to be hurting yourself. Okay, so that is the breakdown. I hope that you guys got all of the messages that you needed. before I go, don't forget to sign up for the workshop that I'm having on Wednesday. It's going to be from 4:30 to 6:30, if I'm not mistaken. We are going to be doing a spiritual balance workshop, and my workbook launches tonight. I'm going over it and making sure there's no like typos or anything right now. So stay tuned for that, because that's happening tonight. I will definitely see you loves in the next video. Thank you so much for all the love, all the support. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye.